Hello there, you're watching Africa News, the top stories on the continent this hour. Getting a sense of what needs doing, Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir visits South Sudan for talks with his counterpart. This as ethnic violence enters a third week. Religious tensions remain high in the Central African Republic, with civilians and MISCA troops now facing a growing backlash. We bring you an exclusive report. And paying homage to a football legend, the world reflects on the loss of Eusebio, who died on Sunday. The 71-year-old was considered by many one of the sport's greatest players. Hello there, I'm Rochelle Ferguson. Welcome to Africa News, the top stories. Firstly, talks between South Sudan's President Salva Kiir and Sudan's leader Omar al-Bashir got underway in Juba this Monday. The former foes discussed whether to deploy a joint force to protect oil fields threatened by rebels in the world's newest nation. While the three-week-old conflict pits supporters of President Kiir against backers of his sacked deputy, Riek Machar. Here's more on that story.
Reaching out to its war-torn southern neighbor, Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir met with his counterpart Salva Kiir in Juba and called for an immediate ceasefire. The two countries remain bound together by their shared oil industry. South Sudan has most of the region's crude, but needs Sudan's pipelines to export it. The two presidents said they were considering setting up a joint force to protect the vital oil fields. A similar call for peace came from China, the biggest investor in South Sudan's oil industry.
China's position regarding the current situation in South Sudan is very clear. We call on the immediate end to hostilities, and we hope law and order can be established very soon.
The Chinese foreign minister was speaking during a visit in Ethiopia, where talks aimed at securing a peace deal picked up on Monday after being repeatedly delayed. But finding a quick solution to the conflict between government and rebel representatives will be hard. A key sticking point is the release of 11 rebel allies, a request dismissed by the South Sudanese government.
There is no way we can be asked to release people who are arrested and charged. They will be released in accordance with the laws of the government of the Republic of South Sudan.
President Salva Kiir has accused his former Vice President Riek Machar of trying to oust him in a coup, allegations the now opposition leader denies. The fighting between the two clans has turned into ethnic violence between Kiir's Dinka community and Machar's Nuer tribe. Since the beginning of the fighting, more than 1,000 people have died and some 200,000 have fled their homes in search of safety.
Away from South Sudan, tensions in the Central African Republic remain high as the nation grapples with religious tensions between Muslims and Christians. Many Christians feel Chadian soldiers in the African peacekeeping force MISCA support the Seleka faction in power, who, like them, are Muslim. Meanwhile, Chadian civilians have been targeted by militias. This exclusive report from James Andre, Mathieu Mabin and Rabia Us Ibrahim from Bangui.
Scores of Chadians amassed in their embassy's courtyard. They're hoping to leave the Central African Republic soon. Violence against them is running high. Hajar has lost her husband and wants to flee with her 3 children.
My husband was killed in the violence. The anti-Balakas took him by surprise. They killed him and his brother with a machete. The men told me to go inside the house. They went out to talk and they were killed.
According to the ambassador, 57 Chadians have been killed so far, and many more have simply gone missing. The community is being targeted directly by the Christian militias, who believe Chad secretly helps and supports the Seleka.
The fact that groups of Chadian mercenaries took part in the Seleka rebellion has nothing to do with the Chadian state. It has nothing to do with the behavior of the Chadians that have lived here for 40 to 50 years. What's more, the armed forces we have placed under the command of MISCA are units that are part of the Chadian army. They have nothing to do with Seleka.
This unit of Chadian soldiers is setting off for a joint patrol with the French forces. The convoy is headed by French trucks, followed by Chadian pickups. Their mission is to secure the main streets of Bangui, to make sure there is no ongoing violence.
I need you to move your vehicles to the left here. I will have mine U-turn here, then we can have the convoy restart in the same order.
Following a series of violent incidents, the Chadians are not welcome in the Christian district of Bangui. They are believed to be allied with the Muslims.
The civilians say these things, but we are just carrying out our mission. We have come to bring peace and security in Bangui.
As we reach kilometer 5, a Muslim part of the city that has seen a lot of violence, things change. The French soldiers get hissed. The residents here accuse them of being partial in not disarming the Christian militias.
When we find anti-Balaka, we disarm them.
There's some right there. Can't you see them?
When the Chadians arrive, the crowd cheers.
We don't want the French to work on their own. We want peace. If they work with the Miska, it's okay. It's good.
The Chadians have a key role to play in the relations between the Muslim community and the peacekeeping forces. Forces that are deemed less and less neutral by the residents of Bangui.
Well, the Central African Republic was top of the agenda at a meeting at UN headquarters in New York earlier today. Our correspondent Jessica Lemazurier explained some of the issues discussed.
This meeting is aimed at discussing the situation in the Central African Republic in general, but in particular, they're going to discuss the mandate of the UN Integrated Office in the Central African Republic, BINUCA as it's known as. Its mandate expires at the end of the month. Now, over the Christmas period and the New Year, the situation in the Central African Republic has deteriorated dramatically. As many as 1,000 people have been killed in the capital Bangui in the month of December alone. There have been 15 cases of children being murdered, and in 2 of those cases the children were beheaded. So the situation is extremely worrying. An estimated 1 million people are displaced across the country, according to the United Nations. 100,000 of those have gone to seek shelter around the airport in Bangui, in the capital, and the situation there is extremely strained. They hope they're mainly Christian civilians, hoping that they'll be protected there from the Muslim Seleka rebels who have been rioting around, murdering people. Now, it appears that the level of violence has really escalated, so much so that even Médecins Sans Frontières has had to scale down its clinic in Bangui.
And finally, people across the world have been paying homage to the football legend Eusebio, who died of a heart attack on Sunday. Born in Mozambique, the 71-year-old Eusebio da Silva Ferreira played 64 times for Portugal, scoring 41 goals. The former striker, nicknamed the Black Panther, is considered by many as one of the football's greatest players.
Fans gathered at the Luz Stadium in Lisbon on Sunday to pay homage to football great Eusebio da Silva Ferreira. His coffin was greeted by cheers as it arrived on the grounds. He died at the age of 71 from a heart attack on Sunday. He was a striker with the Lisbon club Benfica for 15 seasons. He is considered the best Portuguese footballer in history. His life began here in Mafalala, a suburb of what is now Mozambique's capital, Maputo. At the time, Maputo was called Lourenço Marques, and Eusebio was born there on the 25th of January, 1942. He arrived to Portugal in 1960, and his childhood friends have fond memories of him.
After independence, the first time Eusebio came back to Mozambique was at our invitation. And we then developed a very good relationship and bond. And every time he came back, he stayed with us. He was not only with the family, but also with people he considered friends.
Eusebio was the first black player to win the prestigious Ballon d'Or award and has long been an inspiration for many professional African football players in Europe.
For young Africans, it was motivating. It is certainly a big thing. And I don't think it's wrong to speak of dreams. It was a dream for many young Africans. It was a really big thing.
Eusebio da Silva Ferreira was buried on Monday in Lisbon. Many Mozambicans were disappointed with that and had hoped his body would be returned to Maputo.
Well, you're very much up to date. More from your African news team tomorrow. See you then.
Rochelle, thank you very much indeed. We're taking a short break. After that, we return with, of course, a World News Update. We've got our eye on sport and as well our special focus feature. Stay with us, live from Paris.